Manner of death is homicide. The cause of death, strangulation. Are you surprised?
We're not surprised, Ashley, and the reason we're not surprised is because shortly after Gabby Petito was found, the cause of death was ruled to be the manner of death, excuse me, was ruled to be a homicide. And so when all the preeminent coroners and pathologists and anthropologists were speaking, because immediately any accident, anything otherwise was ruled out, the most likely reason that she was killed was manual strangulation, because that's the type of death that can most likely be only caused by a murder or a homicide or a manslaughter, whatever the case may be. It's generally not accidental. And because the results came back so quickly, most of the nation's experts who were weighing in on this case had assumed, or at least had guessed, an educated guess, that it was manual strangulation and not blunt force trauma, not a firearm, and not anything else that could have caused Gabby's death.
Information to be done the right way so that justice can be sought in this case.
You know, Ashley, what Matthew said is spot on. Time and place is critically important if you're a prosecutor in this case or your law enforcement. So that timeline, that 3 to 4 weeks, obviously folks are speculating that Brian Laundrie was involved. Gabby's presence with Brian Laundrie, likely the last person to see her alive, is going to be critically important. The place of the homicide, was she moved? All that's going to be important, again, as you try to piece those pieces of the puzzle together and try to present a case to the jury or grand jury, whatever the case may be. You know, stepping back a little, you know, law enforcement here may not be tipping their entire hand. Obviously, we know there are a lot of resources, federal resources, devoted to this particular case. That's been the subject of some criticism. But, you know, you have to think, actually, that law enforcement knows more than they're letting on. And the reason is they want to make sure that when they conduct their interviews and their investigations and they receive tips from the public, those interviews, those tips, they're not colored by what law enforcement is putting out in the media. They want to get accurate first-hand accounts of witness testimony without any of that being tainted by information provided by law enforcement.
Statement that was issued very shortly after we found out the cause of death was strangulation.
You know, respectfully to Steve Bertolino, that's nonsense. You know, prosecutors don't necessarily have to tip their hand. You know, Brian Laundrie could be under indictment right now, and that indictment sealed in the murder case. So the fact that he hasn't been named a target or a suspect means nothing. There is significant evidence of his guilt that is admissible in court. His flight, evidence of guilt. His use of the murder victim's ATM card, again, circumstantial evidence of guilt. So the mere fact that he hasn't been charged yet, at least publicly, or something that's been unsealed, means nothing. It may be under seal, or charges may be forthcoming as soon as he is found and arrested.